just before I jumped on this call, I looked at the word crisis, and I looked at the English, Greek, and Chinese translation of it. So with the English translation, it says that crisis is a time of intense difficulty, and it stops right there. In Chinese, word crisis is actually two words, and it consists of danger and opportunity. So it's time of danger, it's time to be cautious, and it's time to become slightly more opportunistic. And then the good old Greeks say, the crisis is a time of decision. It's time when the decisions have to be made. So it's really up to us how we choose to look at this time. I see people across the board. We've been following up with our investors for the last few days, just kind of checking in, making sure everybody's okay. And I'm seeing a wide array of different responses from different people and different personalities, and it's pretty amazing. So I don't know how you want me to phrase this. Do you want me to like give you a little bit of a structure, or do you want to just ask questions, or how do you want to go about it, right?
We're just having a conversation. You've got a perspective. I know you long enough that you already have probably a lane you want to go in. So go. I'm gonna finish my breakfast while you go.
No, you just go ahead and ask me. But in the last few days, we've called a couple hundred of our investors and followed up just to make sure people are okay. And I'm seeing three types of responses. One response is like the world's coming to an end. The second response is, we're going to get through this. And the third line of response is, this is the time of opportunity, and what are we doing to make this world a better place? And I'm choosing to take that third lane. So I believe, as I'm religious, I'm Jewish. I believe part of all of us humans, Jews, we certainly believe so, that it's our job to light the world. It's our job to step up when others are sitting down. I was speaking to my rabbi yesterday, and he said, step out of the line, cut the line, and make a difference. Help your neighbor, help a friend. So in this time, that we're in right now, it's time of opportunity, and it's time for us to go and make a difference. And one of the things that I like is what Mike talked about. He's preparing. He's not acquiring right now, and he's in the process of restructuring and helping his tenants. I'm in a slightly different business. I'm in a development business where we develop and sell, and we don't hold that many properties. We're starting to hold more, but right now, for example, for us, it's time to buy. In this time, we are buyers. We're actually in process of raising a fund for industrial storage, which is like the last mile e-commerce centers. That industry is booming right now because everyone's shopping online, and even people who haven't shopped online, older people who didn't want to shop online, are now shopping online. And that industry is going to keep thriving. And I feel it's our responsibility to go out there and buy some of these assets where maybe some of the small businesses are closing and they're going to be replaced by new small businesses. The reason why we'd be in a good position to do that is I am a buyer, but I'm not a buyer at yesterday's prices. I'm a buyer at what I believe are today's prices. I also do believe that once the crisis is over and 6 months or a year goes by, we're going to go back to yesterday's prices. So, I can kind of go into it a bit more. What I've seen what's happening is there's a negative to all of this. A lot of people are losing their jobs, especially the service companies, restaurant owners. They're out of work. They're kind of desperate and destitute. They don't know what to do. They're worried about their next bill. A lot of small businesses are getting hurt. For example, in the last mile centers, 90% of 1.2 million American trucking companies are companies of 6 trucks and less. So 90% are small business owners, and some will get hurt, and it's going to be tough, right? So that being said, the government dropped the interest rates, and they're quantitative easing. For those who don't know what quantitative easing is, they're pumping money into the system. Generally, if you look at the markets and you think about when the government pumps money into the system and drops the interest rates, asset prices go up. So my prediction in this situation is that temporarily the asset prices are down, the stock market's down, the real estate prices are going to get offset slightly just because of people's emotions. Once we're through crisis and back on the track, I believe that the real estate price is going to reach the all-time high. The rates are higher. The rates are lower than what they've ever been, and there's more cash in the market. What's cash going to do? How long are people going to sit on that cash? I know now everyone's scared, and people are saying sit on your cash and hold tight to it. But here's what I'm getting. When I called people and followed up with my investors, the small investors who invest, $100,000 at a time, and our doctors and lawyers, they're the ones that said, it's time to sit back and worry about your family and worry about the bills and worry about the next month, and it's not time to invest. The medium-sized people that write slightly bigger checks were telling me that, hey, this is a time to reconsider and make new plans. And then the guys that, for example, somebody who makes medical supplies here in Montreal, he has a company that does $500 million a year. When I told him what we want to do with industrial storage and last mile centers, he said, I'm in, without even, he knows the opportunities there, right? So people, I called our insurance company that we get our financing from. And I talked to him about financing the deals. And I said, I understand the situation is what it is. And I'm just wondering if you guys will be willing to finance some of these deals. And about an hour later, I got a call back from the chief investment officer who I've spoken to before. And he said, not only do we want to finance your guys' deals, can I personally invest in them? Because I think this is a time of opportunity. You guys are in the right market. If you can get the right prices, we get a discussion. And I feel it's not only a time of opportunity, but we're also obligated to do this. Some people will stop, they will default, they will freeze. It's our obligation to go out there, acquire these assets, obviously at new prices, and provide an opportunity to the new business owners or small business owners who have been kicked out of their places to find a new place. It's our obligation to help restore this economy. It's our obligation to create jobs. I know everybody's saying cut down and hold back and sit tight, but for how long, right? If everybody sits back, then more and more people are going to be unemployed. We want to go out there and create opportunities and create jobs and make a difference. That being said, we are, when we're making offers, we're pricing them slightly differently. So before, when we looked at these assets, we would pay a 6 cap. And that would provide like a 6% cash on cash. And now we're looking at 8 caps. And with the rates being lower, that's providing like a 10% cash on cash. 8 caps are better. So that's just a bit of, where we are, how we're looking at things. I know that everybody's sitting back and waiting for what's going to happen next, but we're in a process of raising a fund. We're setting up our criteria on what we believe the new price we're willing to pay is going to be. I think it's going to be a short window of opportunity if this thing doesn't last long. So that's a little bit about what we're doing.
Nice. So let me just give a bit of color, because not everybody knows about your experience and what you've touched on. I know that you worked with some people up in Canada in student housing, and I got involved in that investment as well. And it worked out really well for me. You are very good at helping operators expand. You're a big thinker. You have access to resources. You're a great influencer. And you took the student housing business from, I think it was 8 million to about 120 million. Is that correct?
That's about right.
In about 3 or 4 years, was it?
In about 3.5 years.
Yeah. So for those of you that are listening, just to give you some context, it's about, looking for people that are really good at what they do and then helping them expand with resources they may not have access to. Now you have expanded into storage containers. Tell us a little bit about that, what that looks like, how many your group has developed, and what your vision is on that. Because to me, storage, self-storage is, it's a microcosm of what's happening in the economy. Can you speak to that a little bit? Because I think it's interesting, maybe it's just me, but when it's happening with transportation, and we're seeing it right now, the airlines and cruise lines massively impacting the price of oil and different things. Self-storage is also an indicator, is it not?
It is. But well, self-storage is kind of like a little bit of an indicator, but it's more of transportation is a big indicator. But then also in self-storage is like a counter-cyclical product. So if you look at 2008, when economy went down and people lost their homes and they moved from bigger homes to smaller homes and they moved around, they lost their jobs and they traveled for jobs. People don't want to lose their personal stuff, right? So what they end up doing is they store it. So the occupancies in self-storage, not from 2008, because it took 6 months for people to start losing their homes and start moving and things to start shifting like it will with this. I don't think it's going to be as drastic with this, this virus. But what ended up happening is after about 6 months, people started moving and our occupancies just went through the roof, right? Most of the properties some of the properties we were involved in, and most of the properties in the major cities had like over 100% economic occupancy. And what that means is that some people will move out in the middle of the month, they will pay for the full month. And then a new person would move in the middle of the month and then again pay for that full month. So self-storage is a really good product in the recession because it's counter-cyclical. When economy is really, really good, people tend to buy new stuff and throw away old stuff, right? And you have these shows on TV where throw it or keep in a set. I can't remember the names, but there's a lady that goes in and cleans out your closet and throws away the stuff.
Hoarding and things like that.
Yeah. No one's throwing away anything right now, right? People try to hold on to it, and a lot of our economy and a lot of the world, even though we say it's driven logically, is actually driven on emotions. So storage is a good product. And the second product that we're into as well is industrial storage and last mile e-commerce centers. And basically what that is as you order stuff online or, smaller manufacturers ship stuff, there are centers near the cities that big trucks come into, they unload and they load new stuff and then they move on from there. So it's for e-commerce and also, business to business sales. So those are booming now as well because people are sitting at home, and that market was growing 12% a year over year for the last 5 years. And now with this, we're expecting a faster growth. And something that Mike said is that we've been making offers, and a lot of the owners of these properties are not to be politically incorrect, but they're reluctant, but politically incorrect. But a lot of them are men. Most of them are men who are over 65. And I think this virus might be a wake up for some of these guys that they won't live forever, and they might be more motivated to sell. And a lot of them have, not managed the properties correctly. They haven't provided people the opportunity to make it better, to grow, to thrive. And this is something that we do. We take something that underperforms and make it amazing.
So you're one of the first people that said that you don't think this is going to last too long and it's not going to be too deep. What is your perspective on that? I think that a lot of people think that this is going to be worse than 2008.
Well, you know what? Worse in which sense, right? So depending on how you're looking at it, some people are going to miss their mortgage. There's going to be some homes for sale. But if you look at our economy as it is right now, we're in a trade war with China, and our president, our government is pushing on local production. And if you look at economy just a few months ago, pretty much everybody that wanted to work was employed.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we have this huge unemployment. But as soon as people start walking around, whether it be 2 months or 4 months or 6 months, as soon as we start interacting again, somebody's going to have to work in those restaurants, and new opportunities going to be created. So I'll give you a good example of that. In 2008, when economy was slow, I bought into a plumbing company, and everybody laughed at me and said, like, no, why would you do that? Plumbing companies are shutting down, right? It doesn't make any sense. There isn't enough work for everyone. As it is, like, why would you need another company? So I bought into an existing company, and I grew it in a very short span of time from like less than $1 million a year in sales to $27 million a year in sales, with like $4 or $5 million in net profit a year. And why that happened is because we were more flexible, we were fresh, we didn't have a lot of debt that we owed to a lot of our creditors. We were a brand new business that came into the market fresh and had a fresh start. Unfortunately, the businesses that are in it now, for example, restaurants, are going to get behind rent 4 or 5 months. 6 months, it's going to be hard for them to catch up. But a new restaurant, somebody who had an idea for a restaurant for a while but hasn't executed, could potentially now buy an existing restaurant that's in debt, square the debt with the owner, not pay it, have a fresh start, and start from ground zero, buying the restaurant that's existing for pennies on the dollar. Same thing, I was talking to a couple of people who are in Airbnb business. One of my investors is a big Airbnb guy, and he was talking about apocalypse. His business is that he rents all of these units and then he re-rents them on Airbnb. And he was telling me, that's it, I'm done. I'm filing bankruptcy, right? I have 500 units that I'm paying rent for, and I have 0 tenants. So I said, okay, don't file bankruptcy yet. Call the landlords and see what you can do. But this is an opportunity for somebody new who wants to get into Airbnb business.
Yeah.
To come in, speak to these owners, and say, yes, I understand your last guy failed, but I want to pick it up. And I'm not saying today, but let's say in 2 months, 3 months, when people start traveling, this is an opportunity for a new company who has 0 or 5 doors to jump to 50 or 60 or 100 doors. So these times of distress provide opportunity. So will people in business now get hurt? Yes, absolutely yes. Will a lot of them fall behind? Yes. But will this provide new opportunity for the new generation, for the younger crowd, for the millennials that couldn't afford to buy a place, for millennials that couldn't afford to buy a restaurant, to open a restaurant, or for guys that couldn't afford to do the deal with Airbnb because they didn't have enough money to pay the rent for 100 units? Could they go out there and make deals with the owners right now who have lost their property manager? Absolutely. Right? So will the economy halt for a while? Yes. But will it restart? Of course, as soon as people wake up.
And this is the reason I have you on today's frickin' call, is because your brain is different from the average person. You see things that other people don't see. You see them in a new, fresh way, and it provides opportunity. And that's why you've been able to take businesses and scale them so dramatically. But if I don't think the way you think, then the only way that I could probably take advantage of situations like that is to hang around a guy like you.
That's right. So you got to hang around groups like M1. I have a couple of other groups that I hang around with. They're private. They're my personal investors, CEOs of companies and CIOs of companies. And then I talk to you, Rock, quite a bit. I participate in M1. I want to hear what's going on the ground level and what people are thinking. You have to be around people who think positively. I'll give you a little short joke about a rabbi about a rabbi who had a congregation in Montreal, right? And I'm not going to name names, but new people moved into Montreal, and they moved in from Vancouver. And he welcomed them, and he says, I'm the rabbi in this community, and and they said, oh, this is nice. And how's the community here in Montreal? And he said, well, first tell me about your community in Vancouver, right? And they said, we loved it. People were so supportive. They were nice. People were always there for each other. We really enjoyed it. We loved it. He said, it's exactly the same here. It's exactly the same here in Montreal. And, after some time they signed up, they start coming to service. And a new family came in, moved from Toronto. And Rabbi went to visit him, and, they said, how's the community in Montreal? And he asked them, how was the community in Toronto? They said, you know what? A lot of people were backstabbing, and they talked about other people, and they weren't really helpful. Everybody kind of looks out for themselves. He said, it's exactly like that here, And after a while, they start coming to service. And when people left, his assistant asked him, Rabbi, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but, are you lying, or are you just being opportunistic here? I don't understand. He said, about what? He said, well, to one couple, you said that, it was exactly as they had it in Vancouver. And to the other couple, it was exactly as they had it in Toronto, but they're opposing views, And then the rabbi said, look, we all create our own truth. If you think that people are going to be supportive and helpful and loving and encourage you, that's exactly what you're going to get. And if you think that people are going to backstab you, right, and the whole world's against you, that's exactly what you're going to get. So jump into groups where people are looking ahead. Don't be afraid to live. It's one life. We live it. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I make mistakes repeatedly, but the good choices that I make from time to time outshine all the mistakes I make along the way. Don't be afraid to think big. Right now is the time to think big, especially if you're not that big. It's time for big companies to sit back and sit on their cash and see what they're gonna do. It's time for people who are looking for opportunity to really get out there and make a difference. And when you get out there to make a difference, don't just look to make a difference for yourself. Don't just look for the opportunity for yourself, but look for a difference on how you can make a difference in the community. You create an opportunity for yourself. You should get paid for your work, and also help others as well. I believe it's our responsibility to rebuild this economy in US and Canada after this virus is over. And that's why I'm prepping for it now.
Oh, that's great. I love that. In other words, perception creates reality, and what you look for, you're going to find. And
exactly.
You are one of our on our board of advisors in M1, which is really great because of your insights and the way that you see things, along with Mike Ayala and other great people like that. And as we navigate through these really uncharted territory, we don't know. So it's really this is a great place for the pioneer. It's a great place for the person who's most flexible. It's a great place for the person who has rituals and practices. And I've known you over the years, and I've watched you evolve as a human. You've got your practices that you do based on your Jewish faith, and it's allowed you to become an even more grounded, centered person. And you've known me for a while. We just continue to, we're far from perfect, but we keep on trying to get better, right?
Exactly. That's all you can do. And I'm going to say something else. A few years ago, I went to my rabbi and I said, Rabbi, I'm struggling. He said, what do you mean you're struggling? I said, in business, in life, a lot of times I'm struggling. I feel like I'm struggling. He said, how often do you struggle? I said, I don't know. Let's say he's like, what, out of 30 days in a month, how many days do you struggle? And I said, I don't know. I struggle at least 10 days a month. He said, not enough. I go, what do you mean not enough? He said, us Jews, we struggle 6 days a week. We have 1 day a week to rest. The days that you're not struggling, you're not growing. You're failing God. So get out there and struggle. right? Push yourself. As soon as
Yeah.
you're comfortable, something's wrong. So if you
Yeah.
guys are struggling right now, if you think it's uncomfortable, this is the time to step up and grow. People are looking to you for certainty, right? People are looking to you to people are looking for somebody that's going to say, like, it's going to be fine, right? We'll get out on the other side of this. This isn't, guys, it's a flu, right? At the end of the day, it's a flu. Yes, some people are dying, but at the end of the day, it's a flu. You were a little sick. We're going to get over it.
So on that note, I have a note here that 500,000 people die worldwide from influenza. 500,000. And this is nothing new. This is constant. This is, yes, a different strain. It has a different way of reacting, and it's maybe a little bit of a higher dying rate. But I look at this as an opportunity for me to do a checkup and say, am I taking care of my body? Am I prepared?
Right.
if this virus comes to me, how resilient am I? When the economy changes, how resilient am I? When people are dark around me and discouraged, how is my emotional fortitude, and how resilient am I? And I really think, Ned, that this is a time for everybody to really take stock. Is how well prepared are you mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, and spiritually for adversity? And then when it comes along, those that are best prepared are the ones that get the most out of that situation, versus trying to survive, they thrive. And
yes,
I think with your mindset and with your attitude, along with Mike's, who talked about, living is giving, and you're talking about how to help your community and how to contribute and how to stay active, and it's our responsibility to help throw this back into overdrive and create jobs. So I really appreciate you coming on.
I just want to say one more thing. What I've realized is over time that, you can try you all you want and focus on yourself all you want. But at the end of the day, it's the 5 people around you, right? They make up who you are. It's the 5 people you hang out with, 5 people that you're closest to. So if you're not in a group like M1, and if you don't have high achievers and people who are go-getters around you, then join a group like that. Go out and do something. Don't sit around with the same people you've been hanging around with, that listening to the bad news. Get out of your negative seat, get into a more positive group. And what I find is that oftentimes I get that on myself too. I'm not perfect, but my rabbi comes in and says, "You're struggling. You're not struggling enough." By the way, my rabbi is a multimillionaire. He's in hundreds, So
Yeah.
And he made it himself. So basically, surround yourself with people who've been there, done it before, and people who want to go there, and do it as a group. I think on your own, it's nearly impossible. I try to do it on my own for years, and it's a struggle. And it doesn't need to be, it can be a struggle, but it doesn't have to be a struggle on your own. You don't have to do it all yourself. Like, I have a board of advisors as well that I call and say, "Hey guys, here's what I'm thinking about doing. What do you think?" And sometimes they tell me, "Are you out of your mind?" And then I sit quiet and I don't mention it.
Hey, I got a quick question for you before you leave. It comes from Raman. He says, what questions to ask the lenders to secure some financing for new projects like industrial storage? What experience will be required to get approved?
Well, we have experience. We have the track record. So right now, if you don't have a track record, it's going to be very difficult for you to do it. But if you're interested in it, call me and we can lend you our track record, or we can partner on deals and do them together. So we're always open to doing that. I'm always looking to help newcomer get up and make something of themselves. I've had help along the way. I didn't do this on my own. So if you're trying to do it all yourself, again, find people who've done it before, ask for help. I can either give you advice or we can JV on deals, depending on what value you're adding.
All right, Raman, reach out to Ned. He is in the M1 Facebook group, and so is Raman. Ned, I want to thank you so much for joining us today on this virtual summit and sharing your wisdom with us. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you so
Say,
much.
Shalom.
Bless you. Thank you.
All right. Cheers.